With all the drama going on in the building, the Las Vegas Raiders still had a game to play in Week 5 against the Denver Broncos. Man, can quarterback Gardner Minshew and the Raider offense play well for more than a quarter? They looked as prepared as can be with a great game plan in the beginning. They went right down the field and scored a touchdown on their first possession, but right when it looked like the Raiders were going to take a commanding 17-3 lead, Minshew threw a pick six to tie the game at 10. That turned the game around. Neither Minshew nor the Raiders were the same after that. The Broncos would then score 34 unanswered points before the Raiders scored again. 34-18 was the total of it all, and here's what we learned from it. Minshew is definitely not the guy at quarterback. I'm not saying Aiden O'Connell is the guy, but I'd rather see him right now. The Raiders have to address the quarterback position at some point next offseason, but they know 100% Minshew isn't it. They might want to go ahead and make sure O'Connell can't grow into that guy before getting that quarterback next offseason. There isn't any value in him leading the team to garbage time touchdowns, so I think it's time to give him a shot. Minshew has only given the Raiders 1.5 good quarters in 5 games. That ain't going to win for him. We at least saw last year that O'Connell can go in there and not mess things up. In his 6 years in the NFL, Minshew has more than proven he can mess things up. That's why he's on his 4th team in that span. Week 5 isn't the time to give up on the season, so I want to see O'Connell get the nod from here on out. He just might have another good stretch of football in him. If not, we look forward to the 2025 NFL Draft. That's all we could do at the rate the Raiders are going at now, so we might as well give the kid a shot. Are you guys done blaming running back Zamir White for the Raiders' failure to run the football yet? No one could forgive him for the hole he missed earlier this season, but Alexander Mattison sure did miss one Sunday. He averaged 2.5 yards per carry against the Broncos. I'm not blaming Mattison for the Raiders' lack of a running game either. The offensive line just didn't open up holes the way they did in Week 4 against the Cleveland Browns. I thought the Raiders were starting to get it together on the ground after the Browns game, but in Week 5 they went right back to how they've been all year. Those of you that want to argue for Mattison and say White this, Mattison that, knock yourselves out. Just realize that the Raiders aren't going to get better running the football until they get better up front. They're not the same as they were down the stretch last year. Back then, the Raiders could run the zone scheme and the power gap scheme effectively. This year, with the exception of Week 4, they haven't shown they can run either scheme effectively. Getting second-round guard Jackson Powers Johnson helped, but that offensive line still has a long way to go. The Raiders coordinators need to do some things differently. We can start with offensive coordinator Luke Getsy. Raider Nation is calling for his head because of his play calling. It's hard to call plays for a quarterback you don't trust, but he needs to either trust him or don't have him on the field. It makes no sense to have one of the fastest guys in the NFL and throw 99% short passes to him. The Raiders only took one shot down the field to Trey Tucker. Running the ball on 3rd and 5 got to go too. Defensive coordinator Patrick Graham needs to dumb down his brilliant brainiac schemes again too. The Raider defense was number 1 in the NFL the second half of last season because Graham simplified his defense so everyone can know what they're doing and play fast. Now they're thinking too much and making mistakes again. Like the deep ball Broncos receiver Troy Franklin dropped in the end zone. Corner Jacorian Bennett clearly thought he had help from the back end, but it never arrived. In Week 4, the Raiders gave up an 87-yard touchdown catching Amari Cooper on a busted coverage, but a penalty wiped it out. This is happening way too often. Let's end on a positive note. This one is more confirmation to me than it is what we learned. 2024 first-round pick Brock Bowers is the Raiders' number 1 receiver. I don't know what some of you saw in Jacoby Myers to make you think that he's the Raiders' number 1 receiver, but he ain't. Sorry, but with Adams gone, that's Bowers. He can make the possession catches over the middle, beat you deep, and run after the catch. He's a matchup nightmare too, as he's too big for DBs and way too fast for linebackers. He scored the team's first touchdown of the game by showing his ability to go up and get one over a smaller DB and run after the catch. He deservedly had the most targets in Week 5 with 12, catching 8 of them for 97 yards and a touchdown. He very well could have had 3 touchdowns and been well over 100 yards if Minshew had some accuracy. The pick six should have been a touchdown but sailed over Bowers' head into the arms of Patrick Surtain Jr. Then there's the deep ball that Bowers got past his man but Minshew missed him. One thing we can say about the Raiders this year is they drafted well in the first round because this Bowers kid is the truth. You know, I'm still trying to figure out why the Raiders started Minshew over O'Connell. Pierce said before Minshew got there that whoever came would have to beat O'Connell out, and that didn't happen. Neither one of them looked great, so the tie should have went to O'Connell according to what he said. I'm starting to think that came from above. Well, the more important thing is how long is that going to last? I'm starting to see Adam's point with how horrible Minshew looked. We've seen O'Connell come in and give the Raiders a spark before, so do you think he can come in and do it again? There's still a season left to save. God forbid the organization's doing the T word to get the quarterback to get the ball to Bowers. Thank you for watching. See you next time.